Hello everyone, FPL Raptor here and welcome back to another video on the Fantasy Football Fix YouTube channel. In today's video, I'll be going through my top transfer targets ahead of the biggest double game week of the season, double game week 36. If you are enjoying the content here on this channel, please do remember to like, comment and subscribe. But without further ado, let's jump into today's video. Right, let's start with who I think are probably two of the best options to own at the moment in FPL, and that is Bukayo Saka and Phil Foden. Definitely two midfielders that you want to target ahead of double game week 36. Now, I know a lot of people already own Saka. He's at 29.1% ownership, and he's even higher in the top 10k. But I still think it'd be worth discussing him specifically in relation to Phil Foden, because I know a lot of people will be looking at Foden potentially as a replacement for the likes of Mount and Havertz. The reason a lot of people are looking at maybe taking out their Chelsea players, just in case you weren't aware, is that the FA Cup final is only a few days after the second game in game week 36 against Leeds for Chelsea. So a lot of people are making the claim that really for a lot of the Chelsea players, specifically the likes of maybe Alonso, James and Havertz, game week 36 is actually more like a single game week. I'll let you come to your own decision on that, but I think these are two really, really good options for the midfield. With respect to the fixtures, they both have a very similar sort of double game week 36, and it's pretty good for both of them, and then decent enough fixtures in 37 and 38, and that's one of the main reasons that I myself am looking at transferring in both these players at the moment. So I don't own either at the moment. They did fairly well this week, and that did hurt my rank a little bit, specifically Saka, because he is so highly owned. But the fact that I would happily play them, assuming they do play, for the remainder of the season is really nice, because as we'll discuss a bit later, some of the other players have slightly tricky fixtures, specifically in game week 38. Now, when we look at the underlying statistics for the two of them, there is a slight favourite, but there is some context that is needed when we go into that. So, total minutes played, of course, Saka has played almost every single minute for Arsenal this season. I would be incredibly shocked. I would go as far as saying I could almost guarantee that if Saka's fit, he plays. We even saw recently he picked up a knock in game week 34. Straight away, he's back in for 35, even though he only had a couple of days to train. So, Saka is absolutely essential for Arsenal, and I think he'll play every game. This is the issue that we have with Foden. I would suspect or predict at least that Foden will probably start the remainder of the games, especially if the title race does go down to game week 38. But if the title race is wrapped up for one of the teams before game week 38, which looks unlikely, but it could potentially happen, or maybe the Champions League game against Real Madrid goes to 120 minutes in the second leg and Foden plays all 120, I could see a potential resting in one of these games for Foden. It wouldn't be more than one. I do think, and I've said this for a while now, I think that Pep sees Foden as integral to that Manchester City team as KDB, but I do still think that there's that slight risk with Foden that maybe you don't get with Saka. When we look at the projected points over the final sort of 3 game weeks, with 4 games for each of them, Saka's definitely coming out on top, and this is the case across a lot of different websites, but Fantasy Football Fix are tracking Saka as coming out on top, and that's mainly due to expected minutes once again. Even with Foden predicted to start the most of the games, he does sometimes come off early as well. So Saka, because of the nailed minutes, projected to get slightly more points. Expected FPL points per 90, though, across the season thus far, Foden is coming out on top, and he's also coming out on top with respect to non-penalty expected goal involvement. So Saka's sitting at around 0.46, Foden is sitting at 0.59. So Foden's been showing really good underlying statistics all season. What I would say is Saka is now on penalties, assuming Lacazette isn't on the pitch. That's a massive boost for Saka, and that's something we need to take into account. If he gets a penalty in one of the final few game weeks, then he's immediately got that one goal on top of whatever Foden can get. So penalties do definitely matter in our decision making, but I think across only 4 games left now, it's difficult to try and predict if a penalty is going to happen. Big chances per 90, even with Saka getting 2 big chances from the penalties that he scored, big chances per 90 is a lot higher for Phil Foden at 0.48 for Phil Foden, 0.28 for Saka. So Phil Foden's getting a lot more of those clear-cut opportunities, which is higher XG opportunities as well. Touches in the box, both excellent for the two of them, 7.02 for Saka, 5.72 for Foden, but Saka's is absolutely elite, one of the best in the Premier League. So both of them are getting involved a lot. They're both getting a fair amount of big chances, and they're both putting up good underlying statistics. If Foden starts all 4 of the remaining games, I would prefer to have Foden in my team based on everything that we've seen this season. That being said, the addition of penalties for Saka and the fact that he is definitely more nailed than Foden, that might make it swing back to Saka for me. So let me know down below, do you own Saka already? Do you own Foden? If not, are you looking to bring either of them in? Outside of that, because these are the last sort of mid-price midfielders that we'll be discussing here, are there any other mid-price midfielders that you're looking at? Maybe the likes of Coutinho, maybe Maddison, if you think he's going to start both games in 36 and 37. Do let me know down below. Always interested to hear your thoughts. So guys, the next two to discuss are two absolutely fantastic bench boost 36 options, but to be honest, I also think they're going to be fantastic options to start in your team if you want to. But specifically, if you are looking to maybe downgrade one of your midfield spots or just get a slightly better player on your bench, I think KDH or Dewsbury-Hall and Anthony Gordon are going to be two of the best options. Jacob Ramsey's probably the third option outside of that. And the reason for that is that Leicester, Everton and Villa, so KDH, Gordon and Ramsey, those three players are playing for teams that double in 36 and double in 37. So those are the only three teams that double in both weeks. So I think if you're looking to bench boost in 36 or maybe bench boost in 37, or potentially you just don't have any like free hit chip, for example, you're probably going to want players from teams that double in both, and then ideally have a decent fixture in 38. So that's the only reason really that Ramsey isn't here, is that he's slightly more expensive at 4.7, and they've also got the fixture against Manchester City in game week 38. But I think Ramsey's another great option. For me though, I think I would be targeting KDH or Gordon. When we look at the fixtures, I definitely think I prefer Everton's two doubles. But the great thing for KDH is that he actually has a pretty decent fixture against Southampton at home in game week 38 as well. So that is something to bear in mind. But the doubles themselves, Leicester, Watford, Brentford and Palace, I think is a really nice 4 fixtures for Everton. I don't think they're bad at all for Leicester. Everton and Norwich at home, they look like fantastic fixtures, but Everton have got everything to play for at the moment. We saw how well they played against Chelsea, and I just think they're going to have a little bit more there. And again, we expect Leicester to rotate quite heavily. Number one, will KDH be rotated? Again, depending on what happens in the Europa Conference League. And even if he isn't rotated and he still plays, what are we expecting the rest of the team to look like? So still a good 2 fixtures, but then of course in game week 37, they've got Chelsea away as the second fixture. So I like the fixtures for both. I would probably just about lean toward preferring Gordon for the fixtures, because I think they're slightly better, and also they've got slightly more to play for, Everton. When we look at the underlying statistics, again, there is a slight standout here, but it's not a massive difference between the two. So total minutes played, they've both played a fair amount. What I would say is KDH is quite low, but since he came into the team, which took a little while to happen at the start of the season, he's played pretty much 90 minutes every single week. He was rested, of course, in game week 35, but I think that was a rest rather than being rotation. I think he'll be straight back in. I think anyway, he should play the remaining 5 games, but he should definitely play at least 4, if not. Projected points, you can actually see here, got the graphic slightly wrong here, but KDH is projected to get 15.1, Gordon projected to get 14.1. So KDH is actually coming out on top here just by 1 point, but they're both projected, if you look at some of the other players around that, to get pretty good points over the next 5 games, I should say, across the next 3 game weeks for 4.6 and 4.4. They're predicted to do pretty well. Expected FPL points, though, across the season thus far, Gordon at a very respectable 4.2. KDH all the way down at 3.1, which suggests really he's a bit of a 2-point merchant. That's what you're really expecting from KDH. Maybe with a clean sheet point, a 3-pointer, then maybe the odd assist thrown in there. When we look at probably what is the most important statistic to look at, which is non-penalty expected goals and expected assists, KDH at 0.18 isn't terrible, but again, that sort of rate, you're not expecting him to really get any attacking returns across the remainder of the season, maybe 1. And then for Anthony Gordon, much better at 0.25. I say much better. Obviously, that's not that substantial, again, over a shorter sample size, but there you're projected to get an expected FPL return every 4 games, which is pretty good there. So at the moment, leaning towards Anthony Gordon. The issue with both of these guys, again, is that you're not really expecting attacking returns. So big chances per 90. They're both getting 0.05 per 90, which is just really, really poor. Again, they're not going to get any clear-cut opportunity. So if they do get you an attacking return, it's going to be an absolute weldy from outside the box, or one random big chance, or maybe just an assist from a cross or a pass. Touches in the box, and this is the thing that really does make me lean towards Gordon here. Touch in the box for KDH is 1.77. As you can see by his touch map, he's playing as a number 8, so he doesn't really get forward that much. Whereas Gordon plays almost in that front 3, sometimes drops into the number 10 role, so he gets 3.25 touches in the box per 90. So to put all this together, I think they're both fine. I think they're both good options. But when you take into account that I prefer the doubles for Everton, Everton really do have something to play for at the moment. They're battling relegation. Anthony Gordon's on a lot of set pieces and playing in a slightly more advanced role. I think when you put all of that together, for me, it is actually worth paying the extra 0.2 for Gordon over KDH if you can afford it. Just to put into perspective where Ramsey falls, Ramsey's non-penalty expected goal involvement's around 0.22. So he basically smack bang in between the two of them. So if you've got all the way to go up to 4.7 and maybe you prefer Aston Villa's fixtures or you just want to go for someone slightly different, I don't mind Ramsey at all. So it'd probably be Gordon at the top, definitely for me. And then it's between the other two. But considering you save 0.3 and they'll probably be on your bench for a lot of the remainder of the season, maybe you'll only play him in 1, I'd probably go for KDH. But let me know down below, which budget enablers are you looking at? Or maybe you're just going for a power 5 midfield with all of your spots in midfield taken up with expensive players. All right, guys, we'll be finishing today with Ollie Watkins versus Richarlison. Both of these guys getting a goal, very important goal for both of their teams as well. Specifically, Richarlison to get that goal against Chelsea was absolutely massive. So I think they're both going to be in high demand. And to be honest, they were going to be on this video anyway, because I think they're probably the 2 best mid-price strikers. That 7.5 million I think they're pretty much the only two you would really want to go for. Outside that, you could drop all the way down to João Pedro or Nketiah. You might want to go for the likes of Pukki, if not outside that. Maybe you just want to go for someone that has single game weeks like an Ivan Toney. But for me, I think Watkins and Richarlison are going to be worth their weight in gold. And I'll start this by saying I already own Watkins, and I'm 99.9% sure I'm going to be bringing in Richarlison. I just want to caveat this by saying Richarlison did pick up a slight knock in the fixture. I'm, of course, recording this on Sunday night, ready for Monday morning. And so at this stage, I don't actually know if Richarlison's going to be out or not, but it didn't look too serious. If that is the case and they're both fit, it is quite a difficult decision to go between the two of them. So just to recap the fixtures, obviously we know the fixtures for Everton, they're pretty good, like I said, specifically the two doubles. For Aston Villa, I don't mind them at all, but there are some tricky fixtures in here. Obviously, they've got Liverpool in 36 and City in 38, which are two of the trickiest fixtures you can possibly get, specifically City away in game week 38. If they've still got the title to play for, you're not expecting anything really from Villa there. They also play Burnley twice. Now, Burnley, similarly to Everton, have a lot to play for here, and I do wonder whether they might be actually slightly trickier fixtures, specifically Burnley away in 36. So I don't actually really like the double particularly, anyway, for Aston Villa in 36. That being said, I already own two Aston Villa players, so I don't mind it too much. It is still a double game week, but I would definitely say I prefer the fixtures for Everton here, and I think out of the three teams that double twice, Leicester, Everton and Villa, I do think Villa have the trickiest fixtures over the remainder of the season, and of course, they have very little to play for in the fact that they're not going to get European football and they're not going to get relegated. When we look at the statistics between the two of them, it is slightly trickier to sort of separate them, and they are very, very closely linked. So, total minutes played, they've both played over 200 minutes. They're both absolutely nailed on for their teams. Of course, if Calvert-Lewin is back fit very soon, then Richarlison might go out a little bit wider, and when Ings is on the pitch, again, Watkins might play slightly wider, but they're both most of the time going to be playing through the middle. Projected points over the final 3 game weeks, Richarlison's projected to come out just on top, but very, very similar to Ollie Watkins. And then the rest of the stats are highly similar as well. Expected FPL points across the season, both just above 4. Non-penalty expected goal involvement, 0.38 for Watkins, 0.37 for Richarlison. So nothing really to separate the two of them there. Big chances per 90. There is a little bit of a difference, probably the biggest difference here. Ollie Watkins is getting 0.52 big chances per 90. Richarlison's getting 0.39. So whilst their non-penalty expected goal involvement is similar, most of Watkins is coming out through like sort of high XG opportunities, which is definitely interesting. That's where you want your striker to be getting their opportunities as well. And then touches in the box, again, pretty decent for both of them, especially for Ollie Watkins at 5.5. Richarlison coming in at second at 4.48. So really, I'll be honest, there's not a lot to separate the two of them. The thing that would make me lean towards Richarlison, and it's only just about, and again, I started with Watkins on my wildcard and I'm now bringing Richarlison in, is like I said, I think the doubles are slightly better. I would feel slightly more comfortable actually captaining maybe Richarlison in 37 because the fixtures are slightly better. And again, I think you can, if you really need to, you can get away with playing Richarlison in game week 38. And outside of that, he is on penalties, assuming that he doesn't miss one and assuming that Calvert-Lewin doesn't take them back. And as a result, I think slightly better fixtures and on penalties is the only thing that you can really dissociate between the two of them here. Let me know down below. Do you already own either of these? If not, which one are you going to prioritise? Like I said, for me, I already own Watkins. Very happy that I got that 9-pointer this week. I'm going to be ringing in Richarlison for my bench boost in game week 36. So I'm going to own both of them. And the reason for that is because I can't choose between them myself. So guys, there you have it. That is my Game Week 36 top transfer targets video done and dusted. I do hope you enjoyed it. Let me know down below if there's anyone I missed. Of course, I've only chosen 6 players here, and because pretty much every team's doubling, this video could have been about 4 hours long, and trust me, I wanted it to be, but we like to keep these videos short and sweet. If you enjoyed any of the things that we used today in the video, such as the fixture analyzer, the player touch maps, whatever it may be that we've used today, you can get all of that stuff over at fantasyfootballfix.com, and a lot of it you can get for free as well. So the links will be in the description. Do go over there. Of course, we are Fantasy Football Fix, and we want you to go and use the site, so please do go and give it a check, and of course try and enjoy some of the features. And next year there are lots and lots of improvements coming as well. And if you've been enjoying any of the content, specifically this series as well, do drop a like on the video, comment down below and let us know that you're enjoying the series, and also subscribe to the channel as well. Until next time guys, thank you so much for watching. Cheers, bye bye.